starts at the top, and the minute that Steve Ballmer took control of this team is the minute things started happening. And I think a lot of players around the league took notice. Has it been any championships? No, but they've been trending. And again, I go back to the acquisition or the deals that they've made the last couple of years to set themselves up for this day, but it doesn't always happen. And because of all the things that the Clippers bring to the table now as a franchise as a whole, you're now starting to see guys see it and want to be a part of it.
And we just saw what Kawhi did in Toronto over the last few months. And, I mean, this is a guy that can single-handedly change a game, change a series. And look at these accolades. We are talking about a two-time NBA champion, two-time NBA Finals MVP, three-time All-Star, and really could have been four, but he had an injured season. Two-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year, three-time NBA All-Defensive First Team, led the league in steals in 2015.
Christina, here's what you're talking about. You're talking about the two best two-way players in the NBA on the same team. Kawhi Leonard, when he got into the league, was really, really good defensively, but what's happened with Kawhi Leonard is he's worked, and that's his reputation around NBA circles is he just works. He gets better. He's gotten better every year. His offensive game, when he started his career, was a little bit limited. Now there are zero holes in his offensive game. That's why you see him putting teams on his back and leading them to NBA titles. He's got a lot more help here than he had in Toronto. So you would assume that Kawhi, with his greatness, will be able to lead this team to a championship contending level.
And doesn't that tell you that, you know, this is one of the quietest players in the league? Nobody knows a lot about him, but him making this move tells you he wants to win.
Well, he wants to win and come home at the same time, and that's what I said off the top. This doesn't happen very often, so what a perfect scenario for him. He made it known last year that he wanted to come back to L.A., and so the Clippers were able to, and that's why I commend them on putting themselves in position. It's not like you just say, all right, Kawhi, come on. You have to have the money. You have to have the cap space. They did everything necessary to make this day happen.
They did, and PG-13 coming to the Clippers. This guy is one of the best two-way players in the league, six-time NBA All-Star, All-NBA First Team in 2019, just last year, two-time All-Defensive First Team, led the league in steals last season, and also, hey, most improved player in the NBA back in 2013.
The first thing I thought of, Christina, after I said whoa when I heard the news, was how good these guys are going to be defensively with Patrick Beverley, PG, and Kawhi Leonard. And Paul George, again, 28 a game last year, third in the MVP voting. Doc Rivers has always talked about this, flexibility and versatility with the roster. These two are the most versatile players in the league at the wing position. So you put them together, you have so many different possibilities, so many combinations of lineups that, you know, the sky's the limit in the sense that of all the possibilities that Doc has with the flexibility and the versatility of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
Now, we are still waiting for their two new stars to take the stage here at Green Meadows Recreational Center. But in talking about Paul George, he was also in the an MVP finalist this past season, also a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. This was a guy who had a career year last season in points, rebounds, assists. So he's really in his prime and kind of on the ascension.
Definitely. And Paul George, similar to Kawhi, came into the league and said, you know what, I have the tools to be not a good defender, a great defender. And on that side, that's always been there. Offensively, like Kawhi as well, he's expanded his offensive game. He's become a better three-point shooter as the years have gone on. So again, you're talking about teams looking at the Clippers now and looking at their starting lineup and saying, okay, we got to take something away. Is it Paul George? Is it Kawhi Leonard? It's hard to take two players out. And if you have a third, and we'll talk about the roster later on in the show, but when you have two, it's tough to deal with.
Well, one thing that happens at times when you bring in stars is, for a lot of teams, is they sacrifice depth. The Clippers managed to bring in their stars and still keep their core, and this is probably one of the deepest teams before they brought in these two guys.
100%, and that's why I've been talking so much about the Clippers front office and the job they've done, because a lot of times you got to sell off everybody to get two superstar players in. They didn't have to. This roster is basically intact. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gone, Gallinari gone. But other than that, it's basically the same roster back that was one of the best stories in the league last year. So now you're just adding these two to that. And, you know, everyone's saying it, and you don't want to put too much pressure on anyone or anything, but they're the favorites to win it all. come next June.
Yes, and the West has gotten tougher and tougher every season, but right now, obviously, we've seen some more moves made this offseason, and Russell Westbrook going to Houston, and Utah gets better, and Portland was a contender last year. But what have you seen from the West? Obviously, the Clippers are the favorite now, but things aren't going to be any easier.
Well, let me just say one more thing about what we were just talking about. You know, the feel-good story of the NBA last year was the Clippers. Why? Because they were fun to watch. They played hard. They played together. Their locker room was great. And so you wondered, okay, they're setting up to take in some superstar players. How is that going to work? You couldn't find two better personalities in the league of superstars that will fit right into this culture that they built. You know, they got to the playoffs last year. They traded their best player at the deadline last year, but they just came together. And I think these two will add even more to that. So to your question, when you look around the league in the West, OKC's obviously out now. They're rebuilding. And teams have gotten better. I mean, I'm not sure how the Westbrook-Harden thing is going to work in Houston, but I just look at what's here. And what you see here, to me, if you look at everything, roster construction, personality, you know, personalities in the locker room, coaching, all that stuff, the Clippers, to me, are the favorite in the West.
Well, yeah, these two guys complement each other, but you mentioned them complementing this team, this locker room. There's a great fit from everything you've heard from guys outside of the league, and I've talked to other people who've all said the same thing about both these guys. And we've mentioned before, they're also coming home. There's no place like home. And Kawhi Leonard played at King High School in Riverside, Paul George at Knight High School in Palmdale. And guys, this was a raw talent in high school, but look how much taller he is than everybody on the court.
Well, Paul George has always had the physical tools. I had the pleasure of working him out pre-draft after Fresno State in the first couple of years he was in the league, and the tools have always been there, the length, the ability to get off the floor, and his athletic ability has always been there. For him, it was about his mental approach. He had the tools to dominate. He just never did in high school. He was a very good high school player. He was very good at Fresno State. But once he got to the league, he finally said, you know what? I can do this. And he's done it since day one in the NBA and has become not just a star, a superstar. But you mentioned the size. The agility, the athletic ability has been there for Paul George. And then, you know, some guys, Christina, that are good high school players, and Kawhi Leonard was, but he wasn't a McDonald's All-American or anything like that, just kind of fly under the radar. They don't get the reputation early maybe that some guys do that become those All-Americans. He goes to San Diego State and becomes a star, but what he's always had is the mindset that he's going to defend and rebound, and he starts with that. In high school it was there, in college it was there, and like I was saying earlier, his offensive game since he's gotten to the NBA has improved year after year after year to where there are no holes in his offensive game. And you look at that list, that's a pretty good list, but a lot of those guys, Harden, Westbrook, DeRozan, Holiday, those were all McDonald's All-Americans, so really household names on the high school circuit, I guess you'd call it. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, obviously good high school players, not to the level of those other guys, but look at what they've become because they've continued to work. They've continued to understand what it takes to not only get to the league, but be a star in the league. Both have had great careers up to this point.
I think it's so crazy when you look at all of those names and seeing that these are two top, maybe 7 players in the league right now, and neither one of them was a McDonald's All-American.
It just goes to show, and we see it year in and year out, that you don't have to be a McDonald's All-American, A, to get to the league, and B, be a star in the league. We've seen it. There's numerous examples of that. But give them credit. Kawhi Leonard, I heard leading into that year's draft that he was in, just how hard he worked. Like, it was off the charts, and that's why the Spurs on draft night traded the Pacers for him. They gave up George Hill, who they loved, because they saw something in Kawhi Leonard, and I think a big part of that was his commitment and his willingness to work.
Absolutely. Board man gets paid. I mean, this guy, as a high school player, was dominant on the glass. And I was reading something about Paul George when they made this trade, bringing him in. This was a guy in high school who his high school coach had to encourage him to be aggressive because he just wanted to be a distributor. Now you're talking about a guy who was second in the NBA in scoring last season, averaging 28 points per game. So, yeah, that is history.
Well, and that's what I said earlier, Christina. He changed his mindset, and he changed it to the point that, look, if I get into the league, and here's a good example, you know, his range pre-draft was like 25 to 40. And he went 10th because we started to see, like, if I take this attitude, the take no prisoners attitude in my individual team workouts, I'm probably going to move up. And he did it. And I think he carried that into the league where he saw, like, look, I'm good enough to be one of the best players in the league if I just put my mind to it. It was never physical with Paul George. It was always mental, and his mental mindset, his makeup now is exactly where it needs to be.
Now, we do know that PG-13 and Kawhi Leonard are in the building, so we know that the guys will be making their way to the stage very shortly, along with some members of the Clippers front office, Chairman Steve Ballmer, President of Basketball Operations Lawrence Frank, and, of course, head coach Doc Rivers on what has become homecoming day in L.A. We've got a packed house here. We are almost ready to go.
This is fun, isn't it?
I know. This is really fun, and I've seen the reaction around the league to what the Clippers have done this offseason, guys. I mean, look at the crowd here. Everybody is waiting to hear what the two new stars have to say. We're getting closer to the big reveal, guys, of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So we know that they are in the house, but Don.
I'll tell you what's fun, Christina, is around town, like on the street, people talking about the Clippers. And it started the last few years. They're talking more about the Clippers and how fun they were to watch last year and how much they loved coming to the games. But now it's taken it to a whole new level, and people are freaking out. You take that fun team that we watched last year and you add these two guys to basically that same team, people are excited.
I know. I was looking at some of the reaction on social media around town. People have been talking to me about it. I remember seeing one tweet from a former player saying, that might be the quietest heist I've ever seen, because, you know, the Clippers obviously bringing in two great stars, not one that anybody had talked about coming in, and the surprise in them bringing in Paul George. So the reaction has been, of course, positive, but, I mean, they are the talk of the town right now.
Yeah, and the series between the other team in town is going to be pretty good this year, too. Those will be fun games to watch. But, again, this is all on paper. You never know how it's going to work. But you have to believe, again, going back to last year and what they had, adding these two players who seem to be humble superstars, which is rare in this day and age, adding these two and what they bring to the table on the court to the locker room. Again, I keep going back to the fact that if I look at every roster in the West, this is the one that I want.
Absolutely. And these guys have been special throughout their NBA careers, but it's notable that they wanted to play together and they wanted to play here in LA. I can't imagine what it's going to be like at Staples Center when those two guys come out in front of their hometown for the first time in Clippers jerseys with friends, family, everybody in attendance. That place is going to be rocking.
You know, someone asked me the other day, you know, is it going to be hard for those two to come back and play at home? And this is what I say. It's hard when you're on another team to come back home and play the Lakers and Clippers because you're only here for a day or two. So you're trying to get everything done. You're trying to get tickets for everybody. It's like a whirlwind. But when you're here and playing, it's a lot easier. You fall into a comfort zone, and maybe friends and family don't come to every single game, but they come to a lot of games. It makes it a lot easier when you're here permanently than it is when you're on another team coming back to play here in LA. Yeah,
and you talk about kind of the makeup of these guys and their personalities, some two humble players. Paul George is a guy that loves to just kind of fish and be out in Palmdale.
I said this, somebody asked me earlier, and I haven't come across every superstar player, but Paul George is the most unaffected superstar player you will find. A good dude, great in the locker room, works hard, but doesn't carry all the stuff with him. He doesn't have, and a good example is the place he works out at, Sports Performance Place. You know, he comes in every day and does his work and leaves. It's not a big thing. There's not, you know, photographers there every day. It's just he's here to do his work, but now he's here, and I'm sure he feels like he's here now to win a championship.
And you've got a chance to work out with him pre-draft and some of the earlier stages of career. What have you seen as the notable difference, not just in his game, but in the way he approaches the game?
It's his approach. It's his mental approach. And he had early success in Indiana with Danny Granger, and Danny Granger kind of took him under his wing and showed him the ropes. And I think that was important. I think Paul saw that. They had success. They had some great battles with those good Miami Heat teams a few years ago. So he got a taste of playoff basketball. And in talking to him, I got the sense that he wanted more. He wanted more and more and more. And that's what these superstar players want. They know they're going to get the money. They know they're going to get the accolades. They want the championships.
Well, they do want the championships, and they've also got what I think is a championship roster that they've put together here in LA. They had the core that is still together in some of the moves that they made this offseason. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, who we mentioned, but they also traded for Mo Harkless from Portland. They re-signed Patrick Beverley, who essentially was their engine last season, Ivica Zubac, their big man in the middle, JaMychal Green, who was a great complementary piece for them last year, played great defense, spacing, can shoot from three. Rodney Magruder, who they signed late at the end of last season, and their sixth man of the year, Lou Williams. Montrezl Harrell, their other stud off the bench, Landry Shamet, Jerome Robinson approaching their second season, and a couple of rookies that they picked up this summer in the NBA draft in Gelly and Terrence Mann out of Florida State.
Well, here's the beauty of all this, and I've said it a couple times, is that they were able to bring in 2 superstar players, but pretty much keep the roster intact. Harkless was a great addition. You bring Beverly back. So the roster's set up around these 2 superstars to contend. The depth, the flexibility, the versatility, all there.
Absolutely. We know this season, I mean, we all got to see how special that second unit was with Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams.
Yes,
We're
sir.
talking about the highest scoring bench in the NBA last season and ever. And it is about that time as both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, you see them there making their way to the stage, and the cheers have begun. The newest Clippers are in the building. Guys, the smiles are there, and they are getting ready to make their first official comments here as a member of Clipper Nation. Guys are shaking hands. We'll also be joined by a couple members of the front office, as we mentioned. President of Basketball Operations, Lawrence Frank, who engineered all of this, head coach Doc Rivers, chairman Steve Ballmer. As you see the guys taking the stage here, and I'm sure we've also got some family and friends in the building as well. So I think the energy has really picked up in here, Don, and these guys are on the, yes, it got quiet.
Ready to hear what these guys have to say.
And we are moments away. Here they are talking amongst themselves, guys. We're getting close, and this is probably, as you mentioned, one of the biggest days, if not maybe the biggest day in Clipper history. Can you think about what these guys have been going through the last few weeks in preparation for the move, joining the new franchise? And I mean, for Kawhi, this is a few times. Same thing with Paul George. I mean, how difficult is that transition?
Well, I'm sure there's been a lot of conversations about what they're going to do, what the plan is. This is just kind of for all of us, the media and everybody here, to celebrate basically these 2 coming to L.A. and playing for the Clippers. But, yeah, the last couple weeks has probably been a lot of planning, a lot of talking about what we want to do. I'm sure Kawhi and PG have talked a lot about how they envision themselves playing together. But tremendous day, and for now, I said it earlier, for now, the greatest day in Clippers history, but hopefully it's not the last greatest day in Clippers history.
And here are a few more members of the Clipper Brain Trust. That is Chairman Steve Ballmer and head coach Doc Rivers making their way to the stage. So, and there we go. We've got Lawrence Frank here as well. So I think we are almost underway here inside of the Green Meadows Recreational Center. I also see some friends and family who are making their way inside as well. As we have told you guys, these are a couple of guys with Southern California roots who are playing back here in LA. So the fans are excited, and I'm sure friends and family are as well, as this is a monumental day for the franchise. So these guys have been kind of building to this moment the last few weeks, so officially making their first comments as members of the Clippers. And we are now going to send it over to the voice of the Clippers, Brian Seaman.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Seaman. I am the voice of your Los Angeles Clippers, and I'm pretty sure I speak for everybody when I say we are so excited for you to be here today to celebrate a truly historic moment for the Clippers, the organization, and their fans. Before we begin, I would love nothing more than to acknowledge all of the Clippers staff that are here lining the back of the gym. They know the magnitude of this moment better than maybe anybody else. So thank you for joining us as we celebrate again a terrific day. As we get started, I would love to thank Green Meadows Recreation Center for hosting us today. This court that we're sitting on is one of 350 that have been renovated and refurbished by the Clippers in partnership with the Department of Recreation and Parks It has been truly an undertaking for the Clippers organization and the city of Los Angeles. I would love to welcome from the LA Parks Foundation, Carolyn Ramsey and Judith Kiefer, California State Senator Stephen Bradford, LA Council Member Curran Price, State Assembly Member Sidney Kamlager Dove, State Assembly Member Reggie Jones Sawyer Sr., Inglewood Mayor James T. Butts, of course our Clipper partners Fox, Lexus, Cedars-Sinai, and Chick-fil-A. And last but not least, the incredible kids of Green Meadows who are sitting right here in the middle. Give it a yeah. Now, to officially kick things off, I would love to bring up the team president of basketball operations, Mr. Lawrence Frank.
How's everyone doing today? Great. They gave me these huge cue cards to make sure I don't mess it up, all right? First of all, welcome. Thank you all for being here. This is a landmark moment for the Clippers franchise and our fans. I want to recognize some of the people who made this possible. First and foremost, Kawhi and Paul. Thank you for deciding to be Clippers. It means a great deal for players of this magnitude to decide to be Clippers and to put their trust in us. Kawhi's mother, Kim Robertson, Kawhi's uncle, Dennis Robertson, his agent, Mitch Frankel of Impact Sports, and all of Kawhi's family and friends from the Inland Empire in San Diego. We'd like to thank Paul and Paulette George, Paul's agent, Aaron Mintz of CAA Sports, and all his family and friends from LA and the Antelope Valley. We're honored to be united today. None of us would be here today without this man, Steve Ballmer, okay? When Steve bought the team 5 years ago, his intention was to make the LA Clippers the ultimate destinations for players and their families. He's made an unbelievable commitment to make sure every day that we're striving towards that goal. There are so many people, both in basketball operations and business operations, who contributed to help make this moment possible. I can't possibly list them all, but our gratitude is there. But there are a couple of vital members that I do want to acknowledge that had a huge part in helping us get to where we are today. First, Doc Rivers, championship head coach. Jerry West, the greatest architect there is in the game. And then I have an unbelievable team of guys. Michael Winger, our general manager. Trent Redden, our assistant general manager. Mark Hughes, our assistant general manager. And our president of business operations, Gillian Zucker, who all provided tremendous support and insight throughout this process. Last year, Doc called our group a blacktop team because of the toughness and grit that they brought to the court. Our players and coaches deserve a ton of credit today. It was the culture that they created that made Kawhi and Paul want to join our group. So again, we want to acknowledge just what they've set forth and what we're going to continue to build on. And I think the things that, in terms of talking to Kawhi and talking to Paul, it's the toughness, the hard play, the drama-free in the premier market in the National Basketball Association. We'd like to acknowledge right now 2 players who won't be returning, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari. Shai is going to be a special player in this league. Gallo is already a high performer. We wish him nothing but the best, and we'll be pulling for him throughout their careers. As much as we loved our team last year, we knew we needed elite talent to compete at the highest level. One of the hardest things to do in the NBA is to get one superstar, let alone 2 superstars who respect and complement each other like Kawhi and Paul do. It was only a month ago that Kawhi took home another Finals MVP trophy. He is a champion. He is a winner. He wins everywhere he goes, from King High School to San Diego State to the NBA. Paul shares many of those same qualities. He's an elite scorer and a relentless defender who is one of the most versatile players in the NBA. One of the reasons we stockpiled draft picks was to trade for a foundational star like Paul. Kawhi and Paul are franchise-changing players who are force multipliers. They make everyone in the organization better. They're the two best two-way players in our game today. They work relentlessly for everything they get, and they always have since their prep and collegiate days not too far away from here. We didn't just pursue them because they're tremendous talents. We pursued them because they fit so well together amongst our group as well. Adding Kawhi and Paul to the roster is both an immense privilege and a huge responsibility, one we take seriously. They expect to win championships, so do we. We can't wait to partner with them and maximize the extraordinary opportunity in front of us. Thank you.
Next, I would love to bring up the head coach of your Los Angeles Clippers, Doc Rivers.
Thank you. How's everyone doing? I didn't get any cue cards like Lawrence has, so I'm just doing this from what I see. Number one, thank you, Kawhi and PG, all right? But this is a great moment, right? Would everybody agree with that? This is a good moment? It's not our finest moment. That's coming. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we're here today. We're here to celebrate, all right? We're here to celebrate that not only just the Clipper brand. This feels more like a movement to me. It really does. But this is more about what's coming, not today. Today is for them. Today is a great day for them and for the franchise. But then when you guys leave the gym, we're gonna get to work. And that's the moment that we want. Like, we've done some winning. We want to be the winners. That's our goal.
Well, I'm super proud to introduce this next gentleman. 5 years ago, he bought the Los Angeles Clippers. And if you've ever been to a game from basically 2014 to the last game we played, you have witnessed firsthand his energy, his passion, his emotion that he has for the Clippers. Please welcome Clippers chairman Steve Ballmer.
Love you, Darren. I have these notes, but I gotta say I'm just fired up to be here today. It's pretty cool, pretty damn cool. Woo! I'm just delighted. You know, I'm proud of what we did last year. We had a hell of a team, played the right way, hard, gritty, tough, resilient. That's what the Clippers are about. And it was a great season. Great season. 48 wins. Great season. Not what we want, but a very great season. I'm so proud of the guys we have. I'm so proud of the guys who are coming back. We got the guys who I think will be perfect to put together with Paul and Kawhi to really give us the chance to do the only real thing we want to do. I gotta say, being number 2, being number 4, we're only here for one reason. We want to win it all. There's only one reason. I'm proud of our leadership team to put us in this position where we could put together 2 of the guys who I have most admired throughout their careers. I'm excited about that and proud of the guys who got us here. I'm proud to be here in this rec center. I know, kids, we got you out of your routine today, but I'm proud to be here with you. It's a real honor to have a chance to be here and have us be so welcome in this place. It matters a lot to the Clippers what our world is like off the court and the contributions we get to make and the contributions our players get to make. But most of all, I'm pumped to say hello as Clippers to Paul and Kawhi. Come on! Come on! Come on! Get up! Come excited to have? Two guys who are tough. You watch them play, they're tough. I love the toughness. Two guys who every year have gotten better. Every year. That's the kind of, look, I'm inspired by that. Work, off season, off court, work. Two guys who are MVP guys. Paul was having the most impressive season of the year. I know he had a little injury. Third in the MVP voting. Third. A guy who could be first. Third. Kawhi, MVP of the NBA Finals. Man, that's pretty damn good. You don't think we can win some ball games this year with Paul and Kawhi on our team? We're gonna win some ball games. But there's only a few games we need. We need to win the last game played during the NBA season. That's the game we gotta win. Kawhi said something when they won the championship this year about the Larry O.B. The only thing that matters is the Larry O.B. When I first got here, I think I called it the Lawrence O'Brien. But from now on, it's all about the Larry O.B. So we're gonna get a chance to hear from Kawhi and Paul here in a minute, but we did a little video we'd like to show you first. Thanks.
Growing up young, around 8 years old, grew a love for the sport.
My goal was to get to the NBA.
And finally, Kawhi Leonard from Moreno Valley, California.
Leonard bringing this defense to its knees.
I'm trying to go in and be my own player. I want to make a name for myself.
He's one of the very best forwards in all of college basketball.
You know, I've been working my whole life to get here. I like to win games and be a champion.
For myself, growing up in Palmdale, I knew I loved the game. I didn't know how far it was going to take me.
Yes! Paul George nails it! George elevates and detonates.
I just feel like I got a lot of potential to continue to grow. You know, I think the sky's the limit.
The Indiana Pacers select Paul George of Fresno State University. Kawhi Leonard from San Diego State University.
Superstar in the making.
Kawhi Leonard again!
Wow.
Leonard for three. Bang! Paul George knocking it down from deep. How about Paul George? Takes it strong. Sheer force and dominance.
Me and Kawhi are pretty close.
Those two players, along with a roster that is deep, they are talented.
Deep and stacked with new stars.
You know, we both Southern Cal guys.
Kawhi is a closer.
What a shot for Kawhi Leonard!
Paul George is a closer.
George over Gobert. It's good!
We both wanted to play for the city.
The Los Angeles Clippers. This is something special, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Paul, would you like to make some opening remarks?
Thank you. Oh, man. Wow. Lost for words. But that's that. I'm extremely excited, extremely happy to be back home. First and foremost, I just want to thank the whole Thunder organization, Mr. Bennett, Sam Presti, for the partnership that we had there. It was a great 2 years there for me. But, you know, ultimately, they, you know, helped me find my way back home to LA, and very appreciative of that moment. It's pretty dope, it's pretty awesome. I remember when I was in Indy and we drafted Kawhi, I was a little confused by it because I was the two guard there and Kawhi was my position. And I was a bit nervous for that competition that was coming. But if we fast forward that and knowing what I know now, being the player that I am, and the player he developed into, I wish we would have kept that pick and I wish we would have progressed together. and we could have did some special things in Indiana. But it's great to fast forward to where we at now. We both here in LA, and it just seems like this was destined. We were supposed to play together. So here we are. Thank you, Mr. Ballmer, L. Frank, Coach. I'm looking forward to this journey with you. And, man, we're going to make it happen. LA our way.
And now the two-time Finals MVP, Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, me too. Just before I get started on the Clippers, you know, I want to thank the Toronto Raptor fans. You know, I don't have social media, so I'm not able to put out, you know, paragraph or whatever, but like I was gonna say, just thank all Toronto, the city, the country. You know, it was a great, amazing season, best parade ever. Thanks to the doctors for, you know, delivering my baby boy. He's 3 months now, still healthy. I also just want to, you know, thank the city as far as the restaurants. You know, giving up that Kawhi and dine throughout the playoffs. Took advantage of that. You know, the players, they already know what's up. You know, text, FaceTime me, we'll talk. Coaching staff as well. And the whole organization, really. Just thank the whole city. Thank you. But now, I'm on my next journey. These guys, I think we got a great future. Paul is always a player that I wanted to play with. Like you were just saying, when I got drafted to the Pacers, I'm like, they already got a, you know, a two-way player pretty much. But, you know, as our careers move forward, you know, I see how he develops, see how I develop. And I wonder if we would have stayed in Indiana. But, you know, we're here together in LA, both Southern Cal guys. Play right down the street with each other in a Honda Center, not with each other, but game after one another, championship game. Been watching them since then, but you know, now we're on the Clippers, and it's just, I think we got something special. We can make history here, and you know, we got the right team to do it with Steve, Lawrence, and Doc, championship head coach, and I'm excited. You know, watching that video that they just presented, I'm ready to go.
We're going to open it up for questions here in just a second. There'll be some wireless mics passed around. We are live on Fox, so if you could please state your name and affiliation and wait for the microphone before you talk, it would be appreciated by all. I'll start it off. Kawhi, I'll send it your way first. What does it mean to be playing basketball for you here in Los Angeles in front of friends and family?
It means a lot to me. You know, the Clippers were probably one of the first NBA games I came to. I mean, obviously it's a different staff organization now as far as people that's leading it, but just be able to, you know, for my friends and family to, you know, drive to a game and watch me play and see them after and able to just enjoy the time here is going to be great.
Paul, how exciting is it for you that your basketball career brings you back here to Los Angeles?
I think the same as, you know, what Kawhi said, you know, just family, friends, just being able to be here full time, the interactions I can have with, you know, people I grew up with and people that's been around me since I've been a kid. I'm here, you know, I'm able to be touched. I'm able to, you know, be here full time, be around my niece, nephews, my kids being here with their niece or their cousins. It's just, you know, I think it's a great feel all around. I've always wanted to play back home and see what that was like and do something for my hometown. So I think now I'm here, I can do that on a full-time level.
Raise your hand. Name, affiliation. Wireless mic should be passed around. Of course, the first question always goes to Jim Hill.
Absolutely. First of all, Kawhi and Paul, congratulations. You know, welcome home. I know of the love that you have for young people. And the two-part question I have is, what does it mean to you to have all these young people here in this surroundings for your press conference? And the other is, what was it like and what was it about the Clippers that made you want to play for them when you had so many other options?
For me, I grew up a Clippers fan. I loved the Clippers as a kid. I think I'll answer the first part first. I think it's pretty awesome. As much as a Clippers fan I was a Kobe fan. And Kobe was my idol growing up. So I think now with what me and Kawhi can do, we can, inspire that next generation to want to go out on that court. I think how we play is a lost art in the NBA, where guys want to get after it on both ends. And that's how Kobe was for me. He was a guy that didn't care who he matched up against, who he's going to play against. He wanted to beat him on both ends. And that was what I was used to watching growing up. So I think for us, we get that same opportunity to give back to the next generation and kind of rebrand basketball in that sense. But, Clippers been my team. So, for me, it was a chance to come back home and to be a part of something that was already special. I'm not a guy that come in with an ego with that I'm the man. Like, I want to be a part of something special. I want to help build something special. And, this is surreal to be home and do it for a team that I grew up and wanted to be a part of ever since they missed out on me in the draft, but that's another story. That wasn't on Steve's time, so
none of us is here.
So it's cool. Let that grudge go away.
For me, I just feel like, with Doc being a championship head coach, that's something that I wanted, experienced coach. And the front office is, very transparent with me. They want to win. I want to win again. And it's an opportunity for us to just build our own, you know what I mean, to make history. They haven't been to a finals. They haven't won a finals. So, that was something big and exciting for me to, make my decision.
Guys, Dan Weike with the Los Angeles Times. This question for both of you. There's a culture that's in place here already. This team, they mentioned a little bit, a team that played a certain style with a certain intensity last season. I'm curious how much of what was here last year and sort of that identity factored into your decision to be a Clipper.
I think it's just how I play, pretty much just a good pair. Like he says, black top team, they're going hard on both ends of the floor. They want to win, and that's kind of pretty much my competitive mindset when I step on the floor. I'm not a big guy to just have it all on me as far as I'm seeking every attention. If it's not my night or not my game, I'm willing to, pass the ball and do what it takes to win, and I feel like they have that culture here.
Yeah, that was the biggest attraction with just how hard they played. And I think with Coach Doc, honestly getting everything out of his players. That's such a special gift when a coach can grab and you can just see their connection on the court. Everybody was on the same page. Everybody was pulling for one another. And everybody elevated, their games. So, to be a part of that camaraderie, to be a part of what they already had, just sprinkling what we know how to offer. That's what made it such an attractive, spot for me to be at.
Hi, Ramona Shelburne with ESPN. I'm going to try to ask two questions if you can, just because I can, I guess. The first question is just what conversations have you guys had with Doc about how you're going to build this team and how you're going to play so far? And the second question is simply Kawhi was a free agent. Paul, you got here in a different way, but obviously it factors into this idea that we have about player empowerment and players getting to choose where they want to be and be where they want to be. And just sort of your thoughts on where you both rank in that conversation.
Well, to answer the first question, me and Doc still got a dinner to go to.
He blew me off last night.
I'm house hunting. Pretty good excuse for right now. But I look forward to the dinner and getting to really just unravel and figure out what he wants from me, what I need to do, and go from there. And just with the whole player empowerment stuff, I didn't do nothing that was, I worked hand in hand with the front office. We had a great relationship, and I played 2 good years there, and it was a mutual thing between both of us that, the time was up, and we both had ideas of doing things differently. So I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. I think it should be a mutual and pretty even thing if both parties can be on the same page. At the end of the day, they got a career as far as, the team and the players have a career as well. So as long as there's a mutual respect between the both, should be nothing wrong with it.
With Doc, we watched a few clips together, talked, had lunch, but, it's not over yet. We still, all 3 of us got to get in the room, not just us 3. It's going to be a team effort of making this work. The 15th guy on the bench has to be in that room as well to know what he needs to do, his role, and, we still got things to build on. We're still going through the transition. As Paul said, he's house hunting. Everybody's still trying to get settled. So that'll work itself out. And as far as a player of power, I was a free agent, so I could choose anywhere I wanted to go for the most part. So I really don't have too much to say on that.
Hey guys, Miriam Swanson, Southern California News Group. Welcome back to SoCal, you guys, and congrats Kawhi on the baby boy. Question for you guys is sort of, you're talking about the front office transparency and how that was important. Maybe speak a little bit more to that, and then why was it important for you, Kawhi, to kind of keep business dealings quiet during this process?
Just because it's, a lot of things are made up now in today's world of the NBA. You could, start a website or blog and, push that out and say Kawhi's doing this, Kawhi's doing that. But it's always important to me to, have a mutual understanding between everyone and just be transparent if it's good or bad. And, I feel like that builds a great relationship. Once we had our meeting, I felt like they were true to their word. Nothing really got out. It was a great decision, like I said. We had a head coach here that won, an owner that wants to win badly, and a good front office with Lawrence Frank leading it. And, I just felt like it was a good decision for me.
Yeah, over here, Bill Plaschke, Los Angeles Times for PG and Kawhi over here. You both grew up here. You understand the dynamics of the NBA in this town and the giant shadow cast over the Clippers by the Lakers all these years. How important is it for both of you to lead this team out of that shadow?
As far as the last few years, as far as a basketball standpoint, the Clippers have been better. They've been... But it's media, you know what I mean? They're going to get the attention. The Los Angeles Lakers, they've been winning championships for a long time, but like I was saying, it's just a media aspect. Even if we do win, who knows how the coverage will change over. And I don't feel like I'm focused on that. I'm just want to win. And I do things that make myself and my teammates happy. Whatever is on our goal and mind, you know, that's going to be my focus and drive to just make us happy. And if we go to the championship and win and we're not getting no coverage, that's fine with me. I'm good.
I mean, I just think Lakers is Lakers. We got our own identity. We chasing something else. You know, we not looking at the battle of LA. You know, we got bigger things in mind and bigger goals to accomplish, other than, you know, the shadow, and like none of that really means anything. You know, they got to come out and perform the same way we got to come out and perform. I think for us, at the end of the day, we want to be holding that trophy, and that's all that matters. We'll build our legacy and we'll build our Clipper Nation up along the way.
Time for one more question.
Over here, Andrew Greif from the Los Angeles Times. There's a lot of anticipation about seeing what you two can do together on the court, but Kawhi, last year you had a lot of success limiting your workload and for the right time for the playoffs. How important is that to approach this year the same? And then Paul, what is your realistic timetable for being back on the court coming off your surgeries?
I mean, last year I came in a year, you know, not fully healthy. So, you know, we laid out pretty much a schedule for myself and to see what best could possible fit for me, for a long-term longevity thing and issue, and for what's going to make the team better. But, you know, this year coming up, I feel like I'm going to be at full strength. You know, it's just one of those things you just take down the road and see how your body's feeling. And, you know, it's a day-to-day thing. If anything comes up, you know how the NBA season is. It's a battle, 82 games, but the goal right now is to play the season. So we'll see what happens.
For me, there's no set date. I mean, I've been progressing really, really well. I'm at a great point right now in my rehab. You know, so it's you know, take our time. Look forward to returning whenever that day is, and just being 100% healthy.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody that asked questions. I would like now to have Doc, Lawrence, and Steve come up. We'll do the jersey presentation for both Kawhi and Paul. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. We have one more thing, but first, we have to get moving outside. These kids have been flawless through this whole time, so we need to get them moving. But what I'm going to ask for you to allow happen, can the media go outside? We have a surprise for both Paul and Kawhi and the Green Meadows Rec Center. If the media members could go out first and then everyone else follow after, it would be very appreciated. We will see you outside.
All right, so they are filing outside of the Green Meadows Recreational Center for a nice unveiling of a mural. But guys, this is it. We have officially heard from Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, who are now a part of the LA Clippers. Dawn, what was your takeaway from hearing the guys speak at the podium?
You know, what struck me is I've spent the last couple weeks, everyone telling me how excited they are that Paul and Kawhi are here. It struck me that Paul and Kawhi are just as happy to be here as everyone else is to have them here. You know, you could really see that they They're happy with their decision. They're excited about getting the chance to play with each other. They know there's a lot of work ahead together, but you can just see that they know that if they stay right and they come together with the roster that we talked about earlier, this is going to be something special.
Well, you know who else is excited? The guy that we just saw leaving the frame there, Chairman Steve Ballmer.
Yeah, you think he was
Can
excited?
Can anybody get a room excited the way Steve Ballmer does? He is the most excitable and hyped